How perfection nearly ruined my life. Today I'm joined by Mal McCallion, who is a prop tech guru with specializing in AI. For anyone that doesn't know, Mal actually helped set up PrimeLocation, which eventually got sold out to the Royal Mail, not the Royal Mail, Daily Mail. And also you helped set up Zoopla and turn it into an estate agency portal. So you certainly know, been around a bit the last 25
Been
years.
around a bit, thanks, Chris. Yeah.
But you said before switching the cameras on that there's two things that really did uh, could have ruined you, and one of them was perfection. So let's look at the first thing. Let's talk about which was the title of the video, and then we'll go on to the second thing, and how, if you think about it, a lot of letting agents watching this are perfectionists as well, and it does ruin their business as well. So talk to me.
So I have a natural personality tendency to try and perfect everything, all right? And some might, call it kind of a control thing. But yes, I am hyper kind of vigilant for little things kind of just being the wrong way and all that sort of stuff. And what I learned
Just,
through,
ladies and gentlemen, just that basically he spent a minute sorting out his name because it wasn't perfectly.
it's all over the place, honestly. Like, how could I even sit here and think with that going on? But yeah, look,
Because a
it's
lot of letting agents are like that, aren't they?
100%,
Yeah.
and I think business owners perhaps as well, I think there
Not
is.
estate agents, no.
I don't know about that.
Letting agents, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it is a kind of natural tendency, particularly when there are so many moving parts to business. Lettings, perhaps lettings is a particular type because there's all the regulation, there's so many different properties and stuff like that, that actually you've got to try and pull it in and try and control it. And when we were setting up and launching, PrimeLocation back in 2000, Zoopla in 2008, 9, that there was a lot that we did not. As with any startup business, you are starting from a position of ignorance a lot of the time, but you go in with a theory and then you kind of test around that theory and you iterate and then you hit success with any luck. So that iterative process was always something that I was trying to get towards perfection, right? And that was, but the more you kind of gripped hold of it, the more it started to kind of slither away, and the more it kind of, like, in the end you were just kind of chasing a tail a bit, or chasing a thing that actually wasn't the right thing. So I think the thing that I learned most, that benefited the businesses that I've been lucky enough to be involved with, was very much around you've got to let go. You've got to kind of just accept that. Don't let perfection get in the way of better. And that to me has been one of the lessons of my life. And I still struggle with it, and it still is something that I have to keep nudging myself back to, because
Where do you think
basically,
that came from? Was it your childhood?
in terms of why I've always wanted to be perfection. Yeah, I think so. So I'm one of 7 kids. So I'm the second of 7 kids. And there was chaos. There was stuff everywhere. So, it was always, but my room was like pristine. So I was always trying to like control that environment as well.
I don't know if you're aware, but a lot of people that do have perfection, it came from their childhood, where basically you did a painting or something and someone criticized it and it hurt you so much, something like that,
Did
that
it?
you decided in your subconscious that you didn't ever want to have that pain again.
Do you know what? I came here knowing I was going to sit on a sofa, but didn't realize quite how, philosophical and psychological this was going to get. But this is great.
That's where it comes from.
Interesting. So actually, just to reflect on that, and again, really happy to talk about these things. People who may be watching this, I've lost the top of my finger, right, and I lost it when I was 11, and it was actually from the scenario you're describing. So my big brother, basically was taking the mick out of one of my drawings, which I believe was of the Nativity at the time. So I ended up chasing him through the house, and I slipped over, put my hand around the edge of the door, and then hit it with my head, which then chopped my finger off. So maybe it all comes back to that. Thanks, Dr. Chris.
I I think perfectionism is a mental illness. It's not a criticism, because
Yeah,
you'll never get there, and you'll end up beating yourself up hitting 99 and missing the one.
100%. Yeah,
The opposite of mediocre is excellence, and I think that's what you aim for, excellence.
yeah.
No one wants to aim for mediocrity,
No,
but aim for excellence. If you're a letting agent, or if you hit 97, 98, you're well ahead of the others that are doing it at
way good
80.
enough. 100%. And this, I think, is again the kind of learning. And I think particularly,
Have you got any tips for people watching this on how to get through
yeah.
how you learnt?
So essentially, a fast iteration. Okay, so this was my
What does
kind
that
of.
mean in English?
Sure. So this was how I managed to soothe myself, was because I would be able to see. So the iteration is basically just taking what you've got and just changing little bits of it when you get new information in. So for example, if you are pitching to a customer, they say, I really like this bit, but I don't really like that bit. Instead of weeping about the fact that they don't love your baby and you know, they don't think it looks as good as you think it looks, it's actually going, right, okay, I've got to take that on board and I've got to just change it slightly, to iterate it slightly, and then go, all right, so we've changed that little bit, and then go again. So it's not about getting it right, you're holding back and saying, I'm going to keep it until I think it's perfect and then show everything, because that way lies madness. And you said before about marketing, you know, there are so many products that are really, really great, but then no one knows about them because they've just sat there and everyone's gone, I just want to make it perfect. So for me, it is absolutely about just making those 1% improvements all the way through, changing your product and being not being so so focused on what you think is right, and actually putting out in the world and letting everybody else comment on it, which is a real moment in time, but it's really, really important, really powerful. And that's how startups, small businesses, young businesses iterate their way to success.
Just before we switch the cameras on, you mentioned something else, and I'd just like to bring in a little bonus at this point, just to finish this video off. What's your other thing that you've learned?
So I have become a convert to this idea that essentially one of the things you have to have within your business, within your culture, is the idea of seeking forgiveness, not permission. Now, I know compliance officers the country over absolutely bricking themselves as the result of that, but genuinely, I think particularly if you are wanting to innovate and you're wanting to adopt new and interesting ideas and really kind of put yourselves forwards as a business, I think that the idea of actually empowering your team to, as I say, seek forgiveness, not permission. So actually go, there has to be a bit of a leash, but certainly push things. Go and try stuff, try new stuff within the confines of what you know, that the values of your business, but absolutely being able to exercise freedom and
The ability to make mistakes.
100%. Yeah, exactly. And I think that
Yeah,
this is something that again, you know, kind of going back to my hyper kind of perfectionist kind of world, you know, it's really quite a wrench. But when you see the results, it's so phenomenal because people just go and do amazing things.
yeah. It's a bit like, as you know, I specialise in estate letting agency marketing to attract landlords and vendors, and the number of people that say, if I ask my boss if I can do videos, they'll say no, and I said, well, that's the magic thing. Is this? If they say yes and you fail, they're going to get it in the neck. And um, if you do really well, you're going to get all the benefits. So it's a lose-lose for your boss. So sometimes just do it,
Just
I say.
crack on, exactly that. And I think there's other things as well, like, you know, you look at AI, for example, you know, there are multiple reasons, and many people, particularly perhaps in larger organizations, that are worried about it. But actually what it can do is so good that actually, you know, find time, even in your personal life, just play around with it. You know, use ChatGPT, use Gemini, use all these different tools, and just get used to them, because you are going to need, whether your boss wants you to or not, you are going to need to know that stuff going forwards, and it can help you to perhaps work in an environment where that is supported.
Mal, thank you for your time today.